Jerusalem, Jerusalem, forever young, forever old. My heart will sing your songs of glory. Jerusalem, 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 oh city with the heart of gold. My heart will sing your songs of glory.
Jerusalem Day. Unbelievable. 53rd anniversary of the reunification of Jerusalem. First time in 18 months that Israel has a government that's not a caretaker government. Will it matter? Do we really care? Hi, everybody. It's Chanoch here in Modi'in, Israel, along with my dear friend, buddy, mentor, and compatriot, Mike Clayton in Franklin, North Carolina. Hi, everybody.
Hey, no, and of course it's the new improved. Is this like Hanok version 10.4 or something that we're seeing here? I mean, you got no little goatee there, and
no. The goat is gone.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've been clean shaven in 8 years. The last iteration went for about a week.
Okay.
And then I grew it back. That I don't think that's going to happen. What else has happened with me? I completed very successfully the Pure 28-day detox. Did really well.
Yeah.
Once that was finished, I decided, despite the 110-degree temperatures, I could work out as normal as I had been. So, of course, dehydration and heat exhaustion, still kind of reeling a bit, but life goes on.
So you guys have had 110 degrees, and you just told me that it's going to go down to the 80s, and you're supposed to have rain in the central area of Israel.
That's Sunday. They're forecasting that.
Now, I mean, that's for anybody that's living anywhere outside of Israel. It's like, okay, well, you're going to have rain, but this is not the appropriate time for rain.
No, this isn't even the latter rains. We had those. This is like beyond the latter rains. So I don't know what that means.
Okay,
but
so this is the extension. Well, I do have a couple things to ask you about. First of all, is, we're both aware that, let me just say it just very blunt here. You Jews have pretty much been involved in everything in the world, from the banking system and the stock market, and I mean anything that you want to name, you guys own. But I do have to,
dinosaurs too.
Yeah, I do have to say something. I think you've really gone over the top now. I just saw a news report this morning that the Palestinian Authority has stated that you Jews stole the falafel recipe from them and made it your own.
If we spend time and just try to come up with absurd material, it couldn't counter that. And I mean, this is why the European Union, and still to quite an extent the American taxpayer, throws money at the so-called Palestinian Authority so they can, make these kind of, accusations. And yeah.
I think the falafel predates the birth of Yasser Arafat. What do you? I just
Well, considering that Yasser Arafat was born outside of the land of Israel, but let's not confuse these.
Okay. Now the next one is kind of an interesting one to me. Is going through the book of Vayikra, or as you might know it as Leviticus. There's a Torah portion of that we went through this this last cycle that all of a sudden became very, very real to us, and it's the one of the Metzor, or the leper. And it goes into this, the next Torah portion talks about if you find mold in your house, that you're to bring the priest in, all those things. I also read that the prime minister's house, they found mold growing. Is somebody trying to tell somebody something?
I'll tell you, it's not even so subtle anymore. These
Okay.
hints that just keep coming left and right. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And Netanyahu's trial starts in a couple of days. And that should be, the theater of the absurd.
Yeah.
And we have a government now with more ministers and assistant ministers and offices and entourages that we've ever had at a time when our economy is really, really in a very bad state because of the COVID-19 closures, even though we're coming out of it. The fact that so many of these ministers diametrically oppose positions of the Likud. I mean, things from a socialist economy to a free market economy, to listening to everything America says, to charting our own foreign policy. Speaking about what America says, Mike Pompeo, America's Secretary of State, came here and has essentially threatened us to toe the line regarding America's new sort of Cold War with China, that it wouldn't be safe for Israel to, now the deals that the government of Israel has made with China is to run large parts of our infrastructure. Sadly, there's no one else in the world that does that anymore. Yeah. It's not like we can hire an American firm to come and do it. We don't have the expertise to do it. It's crazy.
It is. And, we look in the United States of how much has been given over to China. To bring up some kind of crazy prophetic things, we do look in, and it talks about this dragon, a red dragon, that's over in the book of Revelation, that, and the Euphrates being dried up, and 200 million soldiers, and all this stuff, and it's like China. So I don't know. What we do know is that he who keeps Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. And this day,
that's it.
This day of Jerusalem Day that you guys are entering into, I remember, I don't know the year, I think it was 2005 that I was there in the land. I was in Jerusalem, and it was Jerusalem Day. I will never forget that day, Hanok, as they had there was a parade up above Ben Yehuda Street, and all the farmers brought in their ancient tractors, and it was just and the floats and all of these things that were happening then.
Amazing.
And then amazing to go into the city, and this literally from everywhere in the land, the youth were busing into Jerusalem, and they're carrying flags and wearing flags and draped in flags. And I mean, you saw the city. There's nothing like it. But
of course, we don't have that this year.
Yeah, it's too bad. So, Jerusalem Day, give us a little history of this day. Why is it so important?
Okay. In our War of Independence, 1948, the Jordanian Arab Legion, which was equipped by the British Army, led by British officers, it was the trained military in the Middle East, defeated the Jewish residents of the Jewish quarter, captured the Jewish quarter, And Jordan occupied what's referred to as the old city of Jerusalem, which is the Temple Mount, the Western Wall, the Jewish Quarter, etc. All of Judea and Samaria for 19 years, from 1948 to 1967. By the way, when people say, end the occupation, that's a phrase, that end the occupation. We can say honestly, the occupation ended in 1967. Israel reunified the capital, Jerusalem, the eternal capital of the people of Israel. And this is further proof. The state of Israel, recently we had our Yom HaAtzmaut, our Independence Day, 3,000 years old, 72 years young. Well, the reunification of Jerusalem, 53 years. This is our living proof that we serve a God who delivers upon his promises. If we remain faithful, and that's the whole sort of underlying message for me with this whole thing going on in the world with COVID-19. Did it come from a bat? Did it come from a library? Did it come from Batman? But ultimately, focus on staying committed to the Torah, to Israel, land and people, to bring Mashiach now, the restoration of Judah and Ephraim, of all of Israel. That is the collective hope for all of us in the world.
As you're talking, it reminds me of something. It was the end of 1986, a very pivotal year to me, as far as for me, for Kathy and I, our lives were literally changed in that year. And I remember reading the scriptures. I sit down and I just start reading the Bible. Now, growing up Southern Baptist, we're not really told much about Jews. Well, what we were told, no, we really weren't. It was kind of an irrelevant subject, okay? And so was Israel. I never remember anybody talking about Israel. I was alive in 67. And in my house, it was, that was a non-event as far as what I remember, because who has any thoughts of those people over there? Yeah. So I remember sitting on my couch in Tucson, Arizona, and I was reading the scriptures, and all of a sudden I said, "That's it. That's it." And Kathy's in the kitchen. She said, "What are you talking about?" Because my life had been a little transformed in that day. She was still trying to get used to what she says. One day Saul of Tarsus walked out the door, and a few weeks later, here comes the Apostle Paul. That's her statement, not mine. But,
that's really great.
Yeah,
I love that.
And so I said, "That's it. I got it." And she said, "What do you have?" And I closed the scriptures. I set it on the table in front of me. And I said, "I now know why I can believe this book." She said,
"Wow.
Why?" I said, "Because there are Jews in the land of Israel." Now, that had to be a revelation. That was not something that I would have thought of on my own.
No.
That was a revelation, literally.
You were led to see that, to then internalize it, and then have it explode.
Oh.
So
little did I know, that 22 years later, in 1998, I would step foot in the land. And today's a very special day, as I told you when we came on. Very special day for me. I don't know why this year is different than any other, but I went back, looked at my passport and looked at the date, and it was 22 years ago today that I got off a plane and stepped foot in the land.
What you're experiencing, in my opinion, I'm not, I don't really do dream analysis and whatever, but this is the first year. This is the first time in the history of the renewed state where people cannot come.
Yeah.
This is the first time, we've had wars.
Well, hopefully we'll get him back there. Come on, internet.
Okay, here we are.
Yeah, there we are.
But this is the first time you wanted to be here right now.
Oh.
And this is the first time you can't. And, when people are saying to me, gee, I wish you could come and speak to our group, I can't leave the country.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, not that I would want to fly into New York City right now.
Yeah.
We're doing okay here. And, I'm struggling to understand why state by state in the US, it's such a different experience. Now, believe me, I know better than most how New York City is a different animal, even by virtue of the subways, than the rest of America. But different American states are doing differently. And, people write to me, it's like, what do you think this means? And they'll send me this video, and I'll say, forget it, it's a distraction. This COVID-19 thing, this wave will pass. There will be a new normal. I mean, it's weird to go to a mall and it's like, everyone's wearing a mask.
Oh.
I mean, y'all in America would go nuts about it, but the fact is, air travel changed after 9/11, 2001. And now it's like most people think it's normal to get to an airport 3 or 4 hours in advance and have someone, go through your bag and go nuts if you have something that's, bigger, whatever. It's the thing is, it's all about the restoration. You get distracted by what's going on. People say, well, did you hear about Bill Gates? I don't care about Bill Gates. I want to restore all of Israel. That will bring the Mashiach. That's the whole end game. And everything else is just nonsense.
Yeah. To try to figure out what's going to be, if anyone has said on, I flew on 9/14. I flew into Newark Airport. I think it was Newark on 9/14. And I remember all the things that were going on. We actually flew through DFW and getting there. And it was surreal, I guess, at the time. But if you would have said that in just a few years, to get on the plane, you have had to have your baggage checked and you take your shoes off and your coat off, and, I'll leave it at that. If you'd have thought of all, nobody would have believed it. And now it looks like, the next thing is that you're going to have your temperature checked. You're going to be wrapped in bubble wrap and, taken and put on the plane or something. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I'm totally agree with you. Everything that's happening is about the restoration of all things.
Without a doubt.
And
without a doubt.
If people are sitting there today and, you're just trying to figure out how to get back to normal, there is no such thing. But, I was talking to Barry on our program yesterday, and I think the greatest, well, I asked Barry, what is the most powerful weapon that the enemy has, Hasatan has against us? We came up with different conclusions on this one. For him, he said it is wrong focus, which is interesting if we look at Bereshit, that they were to eat of the tree of life, and instead they focused on the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So that is a great point. But for me, I think that one of the greatest or most powerful weapons he has is fear,
Very
instilling
true.
fear in people. And
It's very
you
true.
go out, we've been kind of a modified lockdown from what you guys have had,
Yeah.
but North Carolina is actually going into a cautioned phase 2 tomorrow night at 5 o'clock. So whatever. Um, but you go to a store right now and you see fear in people's eyes. You come around a corner and they look at you like, I'm going to die. That person doesn't have a mask on. It's how do you come back from there? You don't. That fear that's instilled, and it's not a fear of what's going on. It's around us. It's a fear of each other.
That's the saddest part. That's the
Yeah,
saddest part.
that's
Um,
unprecedented that you would stop and you would, before you shake hands with somebody that you've known for years, you got to figure out, well, are they going to are they going to come close enough to, or should I, or what should I
yeah.
do?
Do
It's
you
kind
give
of,
them your elbow?
yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah,
It's
it's kind of
crazy.
like everybody you meet, it's like the first date, what do you do? um
Yeah.
I don't know. But it is a day. The only hope that we have today, Hanok, the only confident, and I'm not going to use the word hope. The word hope is a watered down word in my limited amount of Hebrew. The word hope would be better translated confidence. I'm not hoping for the restoration. I'm confident of.
Yeah. I
And
think that's very true.
and
You know, and
go ahead.
things here in Israel are opening up fast and furiously. And of course, there are the debates. Is it too fast? Whatever. But they announced yesterday that the hotels would be opening next week. They announced that the restaurants will be opening under certain guidelines where you've got to sit so far apart and you've got to call in advance. How that's going to work, I have no clue. But the barring of foreigners, of non-Israelis from entering the country, which initially they had said, well, planes, flights, it's going to be a while. They're talking about reviewing that on the 15th of June.
Hmm.
So things may be opening up here much sooner than in many places in America. Having said that, we have our Connect to Israel experience November 1st through the 13th. We still have a few seats still available. This is the time for people to say, I'm going to send in that deposit. I'm going to reserve my spot because in November, we're going to be in a new phase in this world, and I want to get back to Israel.
And let me tell you, from someone that was in the land numerous times during the Oslo War, the Intifada, 2000 to 2004, the greatest time to be in Israel is during a time of crisis, because your presence in the land speaks louder. When you're in a sea of tourists, and right now we know from past experience that the tourism was not coming from America. When
No.
our last tours, you see those from from Thailand, from South Korea, from Japan, from Europe, some from Canada, South Africa, but someone's
Everywhere but the
yeah,
US.
someone speaking English. It was like, wow, there's a touring group. They're speaking English. What happened there? But when this thing opens back up, you're not going to see the tourism from Japan and from Korea and these different places right now. I don't believe
No.
it's going to still be it's going to be like it was, I think. I remember during 2003, 2004, end of 3, beginning of 4, I believe, I took a letter tour. And I remember we were walking down King George, there above Ben Yehuda Street.
Right.
And an Israeli came across the street, was on the other side of the street going one way. We were going this way, down toward Jaffa. Israeli came across the street and in tears began hugging the people and saying thank you. We'd be in a restaurant and Israelis would get up from their tables and come over in tears and say thank you. We may be in that same time. And I think that this is, we've said this, it's not just that you need to see Israel, but Israel needs to see you.
Yeah.
And at the end of crisis, and that verse in Isaiah, comfort, oh comfort my people. Well,
yeah.
Okay, I can go all over the place, but there's something in me that says I need to be there. And so you and I have some plans we'll be introducing as soon as the airport's open. Be'ezrat Hashem, we're going to be doing something very, very special in the land together.
Yes,
and
we are.
That will play over into November. And for anybody that wants to, as you said, send a deposit, if that tour cannot be made because of world situation, that deposit is fully refundable.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. Yeah, it's no risk. No risk.
There really isn't. So, Hanok, enjoy. What are you going to do? Wave your flag out your window, or what do you?
Well, yeah, the flag is still out there. What's great, you put it out there, it covers, Yom HaAtzmaut, Yom Yerushalayim. Usually flags start coming in after Shavuot, which is next week for us. So, the thing is, even though I can go out the way again, it's sort of rehydrating my entire body is not as simple as it may seem.
Yeah.
Thank God for Pure's Hydrate product.
There you go.
That is very good in helping.
Pretty good stuff. If you want information on that, contact Hanok. And I gotta go downstairs. I think I'm gonna go ahead and go downstairs and put my Israel flag out on the porch today. So
show enough, as we say.
Might as well. All right, brother. Take care.
Shalom, Mike.
We'll talk soon.
Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Jerusalem.